point, the 11 to 8 on favourite. Natroon and Charanier and Tabayan all coupled on 9 to 2. And Toto 7 to 1 with Groom Dancer at 10. Tempolino 20 to 1, Tony Bin 21 to 1, Orban 29 to 1, and Teresa 32 to 1. All show.
We'll go back to Longchamp, and reference point naturally is now firm to odds on. He's at 11 to 8 on at the quote we had just a few moments back. He doesn't look to be a particularly big horse reference point, but he's nicely put together. In fact, his sire, Mill Reef, was by no means a big horse. I had the pleasure of seeing Mill Reef race in his English Derby win in 1971, and he was just a neatly put together little bay horse who went on, as I said, to win not only the English Derby, but the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Stakes, and then on to win the Arc de Triomphe of his year. Reference point is at 11 to 8 on. Natroon, one of the Aga Khan's runners, is at 9 to 2 and is bracketed with Sharanaya and Tabayan. They're the Aga's 3 horses, all bracketed at odds of 9 to 2 on the tote.
And there they are, down at the start. Yves Saint-Martin on the right, John Oaksey, the minute's ticking away.
Yes, I wish we'd seen Yves canter down past the stands, because he got a great reception. This, of course, will be his last Arc de Triomphe. He's won 4 of them already. Victory here for Natroon, who's on the right of your picture, Orban on the left. But victory for Yves Saint-Martin would be a record 5th Arc. But the horse in front of him, Henry Cecil's second string, is a pretty serious contender. Henry has trained Orban specially for this race. He hasn't run since Royal Ascot, when he ran away with the Hardwick Stakes in soft ground. That's given people the idea that Orban must have soft ground, but in fact earlier in the season he won a race at Newbury on good to firm going, beating a horse called Almarad, who French racegoers will know pretty well, because he won the Grand Prix de Deauville and the Prix Cargolet at Deauville lately, and is a pretty high-class horse. This fellow Orban beat him comfortably on good to firm ground. So the fact that Henry Cecil says that he's trained him specially for this race, well, he might easily run into a place. That's number 7, Tabayan, the Walter Swinburne on the Aga Khan's second string because Yves Saint-Martin chose Natroon. But Walter Swinburne, who won the Arc on All Along because Lester Piggott quarrelled with Monsieur Wildenstein, it's just conceivable that Walter might have come in for another lucky chance ride, because Tabayan's won his last 3 races, and although 2 of those were over 1 mile and 7 furlongs, longer than this, the other one was the Coupe de Maison Lafitte, and he beat Trocos over 1 mile and a quarter pretty comfortably and showed plenty of speed. I know that Yves Saint-Martin thought long and hard before he rejected Tabayan and took the ride on Natroon, so it is just possible Walter might have struck lucky again. There's the Spanish filly behind there on the right of our picture with the light blue and yellow colours. She's just gone out of the picture now. Well, there in the middle of the picture is Trempolino. Pat Edery's mount, Trempolino, the form Pat's been in England. Sorry, we weren't looking at Trempolino, I'm so sorry. Now we are, and Pat Edery being remounted after making a minor adjustment. Well, last time he ran, Trempolino beat Natroon, but that was Natroon's first run since the French Derby. Almost certainly he too, like most of the French colts, has been trained specially for this race, and if Natroon needed that race, he may turn the tables on Trempolino. He did beat Trempolino narrowly in the Prix du Jockey Club, the French Derby. That's number 9, Trempolino, and here's Yves Saint-Martin on Natroon. There he is, the 46-year-old, 15 times champion of France, riding in his last Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. Yves hasn't had a very happy season. In fact, he broke a wrist. He's had some family misfortunes, but how he'd love to go out on a winning note today, and it's entirely possible that Natroon might be good enough. There's the Italian challenger, Tony Bin. A really tough horse, this. He had a terrible journey over to the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. Came into the paddock looking like a case for the RSPCA, really. The vet examined him, but they decided to let him run, and he ran a blinder, 5th to reference point at Ascot, and has been winning all season in Italy. He's a very serious contender, this, at least for a place. He was a good second to Moon Madness in the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud. The ground that day suited Moon Madness. Suited Moon Madness probably more than Tony Bin, but it was no disgrace to be beaten by him. He's ridden by Cash Asmussen, who was second in the Arc in 1984, hasn't ever won it, and I rather doubt whether Tony Bin will be good enough, but he's certainly tough enough. Number 2, the Italian Tony Bin. Gathering down at the start, but that's nothing to worry about. Well, let's see him beating Triptyque and being beaten himself in the Coral Eclipse at Sandown.
And reference point from Toto, and Triptyque on the outside, Milligram under pressure. Bellotto is beaten, and they've got a furlong and a half to go. And reference point tracked now by Toto, with Triptyque hanging in behind them. They've got a furlong to go, and it's Toto in the yellow next to the rails. Reference point in the spots, and Toto comes to their reference point. And Toto goes on by half a length. Reference point battles back. Triptyque finishes well, but Toto beats the Derby winner. And Toto beats reference point.
Well, he got beaten that day, but there's another 2 furlongs to go today. Reference point was fighting back at Sandown. Today, Toto will surely find it even harder to stay in front. I think John McCrick has some news.
Well, Toto there, who won the Eclipse. Well, 5 horses have won the Eclipse at Sandown, come on to win the Arc, and there's been money on the course for Toto, 8-1. It's into 13-2 Toto. But this reference point, 11 Epsom Derby winners have tried to win the Arc. Only 2 have managed it, but that's not stopping the punters here. The very first show was 13-8 against. They're showing up the arm on 11-8 on reference point, and 25 favourites have won 65 Arcs, 6 odds on chances have won it, and Britain has won it 7 times, including the last 2. Outside of those, the coupled horses, which mean Natroon mainly, is a 9-2 chance. It's 11-2 against Triptyque, and it's 10-1 against Groom Dancer. By reference point, literally millions and millions of francs are pouring into the Paris Mutuelle on reference point. It's an awful long swimmer back across the English Channel if reference point gets beaten for all the thousands of British punters here.
Well, some of the British punters will be backing Triptyque each way, I think. Tony Cruz on Triptyque. I've seen her sweat before. I don't think that's any worry. It's a pretty hot, muggy afternoon. She's been at the seaside at Deauville, which she loves. Good luck to her. Rebel Starkey, who won on Star Appeal on Orban, but there are only 2 more to go. So for the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, Graham Good, it's all yours.
Welcome viewers from Australia, Austria, Great Britain, this truly international race going worldwide down to South Africa. United Arab Emirates and the US of A as Teresa goes in. West Germany is looking in, of course, and Grim Dancer, the last horse to go into the stalls. This Trust House 40 Arc de Triomphe, they say the Derby establishes, the Arc confirms, will soon know. That's it, they're out and running, and reference point out in front where he belongs. And it's reference point who leads, but Sharanai is moving up on the inside of him and shades him by half a length. Reference point is second, Natroon racing third, Triptyque 4, Tabayan 5, Groom Dancer 6, Toto racing 7, Alban is 8, Teresa 9, Trompolino is in 10th place, and Tony Bin, the Italian runner, 8th and last, as they go through the first furlong and a bit. And it's reference point on the outside of Sharanaya, and so the pacemaker lasted about a furlong, and it's reference point out in the lead. Tracked by Alban, his stable companion. Then on the inside races Sharanaya and Natroon and Tabayan and Triptyque, and they continue their journey down the far side of the track here. And it's reference point out in the lead. Reference point the leader from Sharanaya in second, Natroon racing third, Tabayan 4, Orban 5, Triptyque 6, Toto going well 7, Teresa is 8th and Groom Dancer is 9th, and Trompolino is last, but one and last of all is Tony Bin. And they head towards the halfway stage in the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, and it's reference point who has the call. Reference point in the lead from on the outside Sharanaya, then behind these comes Orban, Natroon next to the rails, then comes Triptyque, the French mare, who tries to make ground, but they begin the sweep into the home straight, 5 furlongs left to race. Steve Cawthon on reference point leads. From in second place, Sharonaya. These 2 to 3 lengths clear of Orban, who's racing a good race for third. They continue the sweep into the home straight. Just half a mile to go. Reference point has it from Sharonaya in second, Natroon racing third, then Orban 4, and then behind these comes Teresa running well. Toto tucked away midfield. The back marker is still Tony Bin. Just over 3 furlongs to go, and reference point still leads from Sharonaya in second. Tabayang with a white sash on the outside of Orban, trying to look for room on the inside is Natroon. That's reference point, and Steve Cawthon asking his horse to work now, and it's reference point with just over 2 to go. Reference point in the lead from Sharonaya, who's sticking with him. Natroon's going to get a run through on the rails if he can pick it up. Orban coming there on the very wide outside is Toto coming with a run. Triptyque is travelling well in behind them, and reference point looks to be swallowed up. As on the outside, Trompolino in the hoops comes bursting through. Paterie in the lead on Trompolino. Reference point is beaten and beaten badly, but it's Trompolino who's clear of Tony Bin in second place, Toto third. Then comes Teresa as they race up towards the line. It's Trompolino who's clear up towards the line. Paterie wins his third consecutive arc. Trompolino wins, Tony Bin second. Close for third between Triptyque and Toto. Then came Tabayan, Orban. Behind Orban came Teresa. Then came reference point, and behind reference point Sharonaya and Natroon. Disappointing last of all was Groom Dancer, and so confirmation that the third year running Pat Edery has won this. The Trust House 40 now sponsor Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe. He brought Trompolino owned by the Moussac train here in France by Andre Fabre with a tremendous run from last virtually to first. In fact, he was tracked home by number 2 Tony Bin, ridden by Cassius Newson, who was for a long way, 20 lengths off the pace in last. Third horse home, I think we'll find, is Triptyque, with a fourth horse home being Toto. That is the nearest, I'm afraid to say, we got with Toto, trained by Alex Stewart. Trompolino has won. Tony Bin is second, but of course the big disappointment is reference point, who had to go to work with just over 3 furlongs to go, and I'm afraid to say he beat a retreat. That was disappointing, but hail the conqueror. This is Trompolino, ridden by Pat Edery, and this man is getting a reputation for being the man in the arc.
Yes, extraordinary breeding feat, among other things, because Trompolino is by sharpen up, but there is the beaten favourite. A sad sight. He's trotting back, sound, but not happy. Alison Dean gives him a consoling kiss, desperately sad for her. Who can blame her if there are tears in her eyes? Reference points, second defeat of the season, but this time he was beaten a long way from home. And here's the winner, Pat Edery's hat-trick of Arc de Triomphe. What a tremendous achievement. And I must say, having seen Trompolino running against Natroon twice, once beating him and once not beating him, no one could have expected him to win with quite the facility he did. He absolutely burst clear coming into the straight. A great triumph for Andre Fabre, his trainer, for whom Pat Edery has ridden a great deal this season. But what a reception he'll get. The French delighted to keep the great prize at home, and the Italians should be proud too, because Tony Bin was second. But let's have a look again at how reference point was beaten, and Trompolino came through to take advantage. Sharonaya, the Aga Khan's pacemaker, has stayed with reference point, been harrying him all the way. Stayed with him longer than anybody expected, really. Natroon and Yves Saint-Martin are looking for room over on the far rails. So is Groom Dancer. Neither of them get it. And now, as reference point goes backwards, for a moment his stable companion Orban shows. But at that moment, Pat Edery presses the button, and Trompolino quickens, almost like Dancing Brave did last year. Not quite as sensationally as that, but he goes clear. Tony Bin, who's been last early on, comes through from behind to take second place. Triptyque has lost her place on the turn, is struggling over on the far side, and the best England can do is Toto disputing third place with Triptyque. I think he probably does get third in Toto. There's no doubt about Trompolino from Tony Bin. And Toto wasn't third. He was only fourth. Triptyque was third, and Toto fourth.
First number 9, Trompolino. Second number 2, Tony Benn. And third number 5, Triptyque. 11 ran.
All clear on the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe of 1987, and what a devastating win by Trompolino. Last on the turn, got a split between horses and went to the line very, very strongly to run what appears to be a track record in winning this year's Great Classic. It carried prize money of the equivalent of £423,280 sterling. Second place to Tony Benn, whose owner paid a late entry fee of about $58,000, I'm told. That'd be American dollars. And Triptyque, just for one fleeting second in the straight, made a quick dash, almost joined the leaders, and her army of fans were hoping that she might have been able to score a well-deserved win after having run third in the 1986 Arc de Triomphe. The winner is trained by Andre Fabre in Paris, American bred by Sharpen Up, and I know some Australian breeders with horses related to Sharpen Up will be delighted to see that win by Trompolino in the Arc de Triomphe of 1987. You've seen it all live on Wide World of Sports. In fact, we trust you've enjoyed our full night of sport, and again, commiserations to Australia on their disappointing fourth place in the Dunhill Nations Cup at St Andrews in Scotland. Well, I better get to bed or I won't make it for the Metropolitan at Randwick tomorrow in Sydney. By the way, if you're a punter and if you're having a bet in Sydney tomorrow, I think a horse called High Regard will be very hard to beat in the Stan Fox Stakes. I think it's race 4 on the program. Good night, sleep tight, and good punting.
From Nine's Wide World of Sports.